If we were to choose who the most pitiful champion in League of Legends is, Amumu would definitely be one of them. There are 3 different versions of Amumu's story that have been passed down. Today, we will talk about what these stories tells us. In the first version of the story, Amumu is described as a member of the royal family of Shurima. Everyone in this family is afflicted by a disease that causes their flesh to rot rapidly. As the youngest child in the family, Amumu is isolated in his own chamber every day. Only one palace maid can hear his cries from behind the walls and console him. They gradually become friends. The palace maid brings stories to Amumu every day to make his lonely life less boring. One morning, the palace maid brought bad news. Amumu's last brother had died, which means that Amumu would inherit the throne. When Amumu was grieving for his brother's death, the palace maid couldn't help but rush in and hug Amumu. Amumu, who hadn't seen another person in a long time, was happy, but he also understood that he was cursed, so he pushed the palace maid away. But the palace maid unfortunately got cursed and died shortly afterwards. The palace maid's grandmother was a mage, and after learning of her granddaughter's death, she blamed Amumu and placed a curse on him. This curse trapped Amumu in the moment of agony, making it impossible for him to get close to anyone for the rest of his life. In the second version, Amumu's identity remains that of a prince who inherited the throne at a young age. However, he becomes a ruthless and cruel emperor who takes pleasure in killing. One day, Amumu leads a group of slaves to an ancient tomb in search of a relic that can grant immortality. After sacrificing many slaves, Amumu finds the ancient relic. It is said that anyone who looks at it with unwavering determination can gain immortality. Amumu rushes towards it, determined to get at it. At that moment, the slaves seize the opportunity and block the only exit behind Amumu. While he gains immortality, Amumu can only remain in endless solitude. The darkness drives Amumu mad, and he starts banging his head against the surrounding rocks, scratching his skin, and then have to bandage himself with the bandages left behind by the slaves. Over time, he becomes a mummy. In the environment, Amumu begins to reflect on his past actions. He feels remorse for the sins he committed and prays for the people of Shurima outside. After an unknown period of time, an earthquake allows Amumu to escape. After escaping, he spends the rest of his life trying to make amends for his mistakes. In the third story, which is the most credible, Amumu is the only Yordle emperor among the people of Shurima. He is innocent and kind, and in the face of those who slander him, he decides to conceal his identity and become a beggar until he can find a true friend to prove his rights. However, after disguising himself as a beggar, no one is willing to help him or befriend him. Afterward, Amumu becomes increasingly sad and ultimately dies for severe depression. However, even after his death, there are still Shurima people who claim to have seen the Yordle covered in bandages wandering in the desert, searching for a friend.